School days are usually boring, filled with the same routines, the same classes, and the same endless hours that never seem to pass. But sometimes an ordinary day can suddenly turn into a terrifying memory you'll never forget. In this video, I'll share with you stories that happened during school lockdowns, moments that turned classrooms into cages of fear. Let's begin with the first story. It was just another dull day in calculus, Friday 7th period. Everyone was restless, waiting for the week to end and for spring break to finally begin. Unlike many other classes, we didn't have a test that day. Instead, our laid-back teacher decided to pass the time by playing quizzes. We were in the middle of a brand logo challenge, everyone laughing and shouting answers. Then it happened. Right after my friend shouted out the answer, the dean's voice suddenly echoed through the loudspeaker. His tone was frantic, filled with panic. "This is not a drill. Go into lockdown immediately." Chills ran down my arms. Even our usually calm teacher looked terrified as he rushed to switch off the lights and hurried us all into the back corner of the classroom. The teacher quickly shut off the lights and rushed us all into the back corner of the classroom. For 2 minutes, we sat in complete silence. Then, the usual buzzing sound from the electrical panel in the back of the room suddenly stopped. The school had cut the power. That's when we realized this was deadly serious. Moments later, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs in the hallway. 2 girls in class broke into tears, which only made everyone more terrified. The screaming grew louder as the man banged violently on the lockers, shouting, "I'll kill all of you." That was the moment I truly began to fear for my life. Our teacher frantically motioned for us to stay silent while we exchanged horrified glances. Then the banging moved from the lockers to our classroom door. One of the crying girls screamed, "No!" But the pounding only intensified as the man roared, "Open up!" At that point, more girls were crying uncontrollably. It felt like an eternity, but eventually the man stormed further down the hallway, screaming like someone completely deranged until his voice faded away. About 10 minutes later, though it felt like half an hour, the dean's voice returned on the loudspeaker. Shockingly, he explained the situation. A mentally unstable man had entered the school and assaulted the woman at the front desk, forcing her to run out of the building in fear. Staff didn't know if he was armed. Back then, the school had no cameras, no real security, and the doors were basically wide open. After searching the hallways and classrooms and failing to locate him, the dean instructed teachers to continue their lessons, but keep the doors locked and forbid students from leaving for any reason. The most disturbing part came later. That night, a janitor found the man asleep inside a storage closet near the back of the school. According to rumors that spread among students, sticking out of his pocket was a .44 Magnum. The janitor must have done something careless, like leaving the door open, because by the time police arrived, the man was gone. To this day, none of us from that class know if he was ever found. Personally, I like to believe he's somewhere getting the help he desperately needs. But the truth is, no one really knows. Schools aren't just places for learning. Sometimes they become the stage for terrifying events no one ever forgets. And lockdowns don't always affect students alone. Sometimes the staff and teachers face even darker moments. In this next story, a young man, fresh out of college and working at his old high school, finds himself caught in a chilling experience deep in the school's basement. I'm 23 years old, fresh out of college, and I recently landed a job at my old high school as a computer intern in the basement. The basement itself was cluttered and disorganized, but tucked away inside was a surprisingly nice little office. 3 large desks, 2 mini fridges, a flat-screen TV mounted on the wall, and best of all, ice-cold air conditioning, a luxury the students and teachers upstairs didn't have. Alongside all that were the school servers and the rest of the tech equipment. I got the job thanks to 3 of my former computer teachers. They practically adored me back in school. I could genuinely call them friends, not just teachers. They all helped me land this position, and everything was going great until a few weeks ago. That day, my 2 co-workers, Dave and Mark, weren't around. They were upstairs handling paperwork or something. I was in the office on my lunch break, halfway through my sandwich, when my phone rang. It was one of the women from the front office. Her voice was sharp and tense. The school was on lockdown. Someone, possibly armed, had entered the building. There wasn't much I could do. As nice as this office was, it didn't have a real door, just a wide open entryway, and the basement door itself didn't even have a working lock. For my own safety, I shut off the lights, killed my computer screen, and sat there in the dark. I kept my phone on the desk, texting Dave and Mark for updates, but neither of them answered. Minutes dragged on. I played games on my phone, trying to distract myself as I waited for the call that would tell me the lockdown was over. About 20 minutes passed, though it felt longer. From down in the basement, I couldn't hear anything happening upstairs, and I wasn't allowed to make calls until the all clear was given. Then suddenly, the basement door creaked open, the sound echoing through the concrete walls and into my office. I stood up from my chair, debating whether I should call out for Mark or Dave. I was desperate for answers. Suddenly, someone came rushing down the stairs, the footsteps growing louder as they closed in on the office. I shoved my chair aside and crawled under the desk. The person stepped into the office but didn't turn on the lights. The silence was suffocating. I can't even describe the terror I felt. I was convinced that the slightest sound would mean my death. Then my phone dinged with a new message. My entire body froze. I clenched my teeth, terrified. The footsteps drew closer until I couldn't take it anymore. I dove out from under the desk, pleading, "Please, don't kill me." The man grabbed my arm and yanked me up. He was wearing a red plaid button-up shirt, jeans, and a red and black cap. He said, "It's okay, I'm just hiding down here with you." "What's going on upstairs?" I whispered back, asking him what he knew. But he ignored my question and instead asked if there was an exit down here. I pointed in the direction of the side door. Before he could move, I asked, "Who are you?" There was a short pause before he answered. He claimed he'd come to pick up his son and that a teacher told him to hide. I glanced at my phone and finally checked the text I had received. It was from Dave. "Dude, this is insane. Some guy with a gunshot, Mr. Jack. He's wearing a red shirt and a hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I was about to read the text out loud to the man when it hit me. My stomach sank. I looked up, and he seemed to notice my suspicious stare. Panic flooded me. Without thinking, I bolted for the stairs. A gunshot exploded through the basement, the bullet ricocheting off metal in the darkness. By some miracle, it missed me. I sprinted upstairs as fast as I could. Fortunately, police officers were stationed at every exit, including the basement. They tackled the man the moment he tried to leave. The good news didn't stop there. Mr. Buckley survived the gunshot. Later, we learned that the man had some kind of unresolved feud with him, though no one ever explained why. All I know is that nothing Mr. Jack could have done would have justified such a violent attack. And the sound of that gunshot, it will haunt me for the rest of my life.